There we go. Hi, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I am Ari Engel, the Director of Creative Community for Peace. Thank you so much for joining us today. For those of you who don't know, Creative Community for Peace is a nonprofit entertainment industry organization comprised of prominent members in the entertainment community who have come together to promote the arts as a bridge to peace. We are also the leading organization working to counter anti-Semitism within the entertainment industry, whether that is helping digital streaming sites such as YouTube, TikTok, Spotify, SoundCloud, and others to better monitor their sites for hateful content, or helping to educate the entertainment industry on the roots of anti-Semitism. Additionally, we are also the leading organization countering the culture boycott of Israel. Through the years, we've provided guidance and support to artists such as Alicia Keys, Rihanna, Bon Jovi, Jennifer Lopez, and hundreds of others, helping them to make sure they have great shows in Israel. To learn more about us and to support our work, please visit ccfpeace.com. That is ccfpeace.com or creativecommunitypeace.com. We have a fantastic virtual panel event for everyone today discussing the past, present, and future of the Israeli tech industry. I'd just like to thank Yarin Zuckerman of the Israel Export Institute for helping us put together today's event. Feel free to leave a comment in the Q&A section, or if you're on Facebook Live, you can leave comments there, and we will get to as many of them towards the end of the event as possible. To briefly introduce our panel, Laly David will be joining us from OurCrowd at some point. Hopefully that is soon, but we welcome her when she comes in. Next, we have Yossi Vardi, who is one of Israel's founding fathers of the high-tech industry, helping build over 85 companies in internet, software, telecommunications, electro-optics, energy, environment, and other areas. Some of the companies Yossi has founded include Arnon, Israel's largest energy company, and Advanced Technologies Techem, which was once the largest software company in Israel. Yossi has also served on the board of companies such as Maharev, Bezek, and was selected by Wall Street Journal Europe as one of tech's top 25 and named one of the top 200 greatest Israelis of all time by Ynet. How you doing, Yossi? Next, we have Aviv Arnon, who is the co-founder of WSC Sports, an AI-driven platform that analyzes live sports broadcasts, identifies every event in the game, creates customized short-form video content, and publishes it to any digital destination. Some of their clients include the NBA, Major League Soccer, and the National Hockey League. How you doing? Our next panelist is Tomer Shani, is the CEO and co-founder of Noveto Systems Ltd., the world's first dynamic focused sound solution with the ability to precisely generate sound to the user's ear. This technology, trust me, I've witnessed it firsthand when I was in Israel. It's a game changer in the way people will listen to audio. We have an amazing moderator today, Dan Senor, who is an adjunct senior fellow for Middle East Studies at the Council of Foreign Relations, and has been involved in policy, politics, and business in the Middle East for many years. As a senior foreign policy advisor to the US government, he was one of the longest serving civil officials in Iraq, for which the Pentagon awarded him the highest civilian honor. He also served as a Pentagon advisor to Central Command in Qatar, and is a foreign policy and communications advisor to the US Senate. Dan also is the co-author of the amazing book, Startup Nation, The Story of Israel's Economic Miracle, which examines Israel's entrepreneurial economy and the culture and social environment that supports this economy. And with that, I turn it over to you, Dan.
Thanks, Ari. I appreciate the introduction. Sorry for the short delay. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining this conversation. Thanks to CCFP for the phenomenal work you do on a range of fronts, some very visible, some behind the scenes. It's extremely important. And I'm thrilled to be here with this expert panel. I'm going to throw some questions at each of them. I want to start with my old friend, coach, teacher, Yossi Vardi, who was a walking inspiration for Startup Nation. What did we say in the book, Yossi, that there should be a statue, or what do we say about you in the book, about there needs to be a statue of you in Israel?
All kinds of lies.
All kinds of lies. All kinds of lies, except you give the book to everyone and say, read what they said about me in this book. So they can't all be lies.
I tell you, I must tell you a small story. I met the CEO of one of the leading telcos companies in the world. And when I introduced myself, Yossi Vardi, I saw his wheels are working. And then after like 20 seconds, he pointed at me and said, Startup Nation. So thank you very much for the promotion, Dan.
You know, I do my part. Okay, Yossi. So let's just start with you first. What was your reaction to the news about Israel's agreement reached with the United Arab Emirates? You've been working for decades on trying to create some kind of normalization, some kind of integration between Israel and Arab world countries. You have done that through semi-official channels. You've done that outside of official channels. The work you've done at Davos with different delegations, Israeli delegations, Arab delegations, Palestinian delegations. You've tried to do it through tech cooperation and business to business, business community to business community cooperation. This has been a passion of yours. The work you did with the late Shimon Peres and the Peres Institute. So this was a pretty big deal. What was your reaction to it?
My reaction was like every normal Israeli. Everybody in Israel was very happy about it. You know, every peace agreement is another layer of something very important to us in terms of the future of the state of Israel, but also for the region and for the world. The only thing which I was personally a bit sorry that because of all the circumstances and the different views of different players, the Palestinians were left out of the deal. And this is really pity, because every deal of this type is an opportunity to reshuffle the cards a little bit. And I think that's pity because, as you know very well, I believe that eventually we will have to get into some kind of arrangement with them. You know, just carrying this agony for 6 years is not good for us, not good for them, not good for anybody else. But I hope that this deal also bring closer some kind of arrangement with them. Other than that, it's terrific. You know, it's really like Yemot HaMashiach.
And Yossi, in terms of the tech community, it was clear that one of the drivers, not necessarily the primary driver, but one of the drivers that motivated the Emiratis to want to partner with Israel was the desire to do more with Israel on the technology front, an ecosystem that you live and breathe. Do you think there's much opportunity there for a partnership? How much of a factor do you think that was? Just in digital health and agri-tech and medical tech?
First of all, you know, there is most of the people in the world are not familiar with the Emirates. You know, these are sophisticated people. They are ruling layer. Many of them got the best education in the United States and in the UK. And they are very sophisticated. And as far as I'm concerned, it's like another small country which belongs to the unofficial federation of small countries like Israel, Singapore, and now we have the Emirates. And I believe there will be a lot of collaboration. And also the Israelis shouldn't think that they can only give. We can give, but also we can learn from them also some things. So I think all together there will be collaboration, and as you know very well, a collaboration is going on already for many years with them and with other countries. It's just brought the unofficial relationships to the light of day, and this is very, very important. Maybe it should be the subject of your next book. How your book about education is doing?
It's coming. It's not just about education, but education's a big factor. Here, Yossi's trying to tease for our audience what our next book is, Yossi. Geez, getting ahead of our publisher.
You have done promotion to me. I'm now doing promotion for your next book.
All right. Okay. So let me ask Aviv. I want to bring Aviv and Tomer into it, and I guess let Ari or whomever let me know once, or Matthew once Laly joins, so we can bring her into the conversation. But Aviv. WSC Sports. So can you first just give us a brief summary of
Sure.
what WSC Sports does?
Of course. Okay, so everybody, really happy to be here. I run the business development for WSC Sports. It's an AI technology. Like what we developed is an AI platform that can automatically understand the broadcasts of sports media, and we analyze sports games in real time, and our system can basically understand everything that happens in the video and can create any variation of short form content from actual sports broadcasts. So, for example, as in our work with the NBA, we identify every basket, every foul, every rebound, and can automatically create highlights of every player. And then our system helps media rights owners and leagues and publishers to give fans what they want to see the most. So can tailor and personalize content for each fan and each preference of sports fans around the world. So their question about UAE, they're big sports fans, and actually after the agreement was announced, I already reached out to the UAE League, and I've had someone referencing us and made some contact in the past. Now I went directly, and we will be talking later this week. So this is great news.
That's great. And in terms of, you said like the NBA, for instance, is a customer.
Yes.
So can you just describe with a little more granularity, just
Sure.
how exactly the NBA uses
Sure.
your service and does business with you?
Yeah.
I'm on the NBA app, so I use the NBA app. I'm a follower.
Okay.
I'm watching today. The Brooklyn Nets are playing the Toronto Raptors in the first round of the playoffs. So talk to me.
Right. So basically, we work with anybody that has the right. So it can be Turner or ESPN, who are also customers, or it can be the league, and it can be each of the teams. All the 30 teams are also customers. But we don't only work with the NBA. We work in 17 different sports branches, and we work in all the 5 continents. So it's already a very advanced platform. What it does, we've created a model of understanding, in this case, basketball. And we're using statistical data coming from the stadium in real time, correlated with an analysis of the broadcast itself, the commentators' voice, and the crowd reactions when there are crowds, alongside an analysis of.
Oh, cool!
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Alongside an analysis of the actual footage, so we have our own algorithms with action detection and identifying the statistics and the graphics, the replays, the scene changes, and really understand how basketball is produced in this case, breaking the game to hundreds of individual plays. And the usage is that then about 70% of the content you see from the NBA today on NBA.com or on their app or social media or Facebook or YouTube is created by our platform. It's automated. So as a consumer, you might not even know but if you're wondering how come they can create a game recap so quickly and you can get those tweets coming out during the game, this is all coming from our system, and now it became sort of an industry standard with the major leagues. We're actually working in some capacity with all the major sports in the US. I can't mention all of them, but we are working. If I said 17 different branches of a sport, it means we're starting with all the big ones. So UEFA and other partners are already around the world are also working with the system. So as a fan, if you take, for example, what a fan gets, you can write the NBA a message on Facebook, on their messenger on Facebook, and you can get in response a highlight for each player and each team. So if you're a Raptors fan, you can write the name. You can write Kyle Lowry and get his highlight back or something like that. So this is just one example. We're integrated also with the up and coming OTT platforms like ESPN Plus and Amazon Prime Video, for example, that just was broadcasting the Premier League in the UK back in December. So we're enhancing also the live viewing experience by identifying key moments and incorporating them alongside the live stream, so you can navigate and jump on stream and go and see that goal again, or the key moments that you like, share them with your friends and stuff like that. So there's many different use cases, but this is a cool technology, and it's fun to be in this industry.
Okay,
Dan,
fascinating. Yes,
may
go
I
ahead.
just interact for half a second?
Yeah.
Yes, but I
really,
predict it'll be longer than half a second.
I really feel that if we mention the NBA, we have to raise the memory of David Stern, who was a real leader, a friend of Israel, an outstanding guy. He died on the 1st of January of this year, and
Thank
I'm
you
sure
for
that
saying that, Yossi.
Aviv interacted with him through the
Yeah,
years.
thank you. That David was an advisor and investor also in the company, and he was one of the people that really helped us and became a personal friend. In the last 2 years, I had the privilege of getting to know him and sharing a lot of weird hour conversations with him and getting his insight. And it was a great loss for us as a company and for the world, I think.
And he was a great loss for American professional sports because he was a real first of all, he's one of the longest serving commissioners of any major professional sports league, and sort of a very steady hand, which we could use these days, given how much sports has become
politics.
Right. That's my point. Sports has become so controversial, and he was like a steady hand during his tenure. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Yossi. Tomer, tell us what Noveto does.
First of all, good evening, good morning, and maybe to our friends from the Emirates, good night, or good early morning, if there are any on the chat. So Noveto is developing a new way to consume sound. We are able to focus the sound next to the ears of the user. Actually, we're going to christen a new website in a couple of weeks, so I apologize if this looks a little bit old. But if you stop over here, you can see the picture. So our technology is actually, it's a mix of hardware and software. We track your face with a 3D camera. We identify the location of the ears. And with our IP DSP, we can create a focus next to your ears. So the sensation is like you have headphones, but there's nothing on your head, and you're free to move. So imagine all of us now having the same conversation, but none of us obviously will be wearing headphones as I am wearing, but also our speakers of the device will not disturb everybody else in the household, because it will be just limited to my region and attenuated very fast for everybody else. So I give you what we like to say, like the golden line between the speaker and the headphones.
So just so I understand, Tomer, so if I'm sitting in a cubicle at the office at some point in the hopefully not so distant future when people are returning to offices, if I'm sitting in a cubicle in an office and I'm in a pod, so to speak, with a number of people in cubicles, we can all be using this technology to listen to our phone conversations or listening to podcasts or music, whatever we're doing, without having to have earphones, and each individual will only hear their desired audio selection, whatever it is, and not disturb other people?
This is precisely our goal, and this is what we achieve. So you're giving one example of a use case in an open space environment, where obviously, especially in this era, when we spend so much time Zooming, it's very uncomfortable, very fatiguing to wear headphones all the time, but you cannot disturb the environment, you cannot disturb your colleagues. So we provide a very comfortable solution that you sit, you're free to move, you're not isolated from the environment. If someone in your vicinity speaks with you, you're still connected to your team, but you're not disturbing others. So this is one use case. We found there's plenty of markets we can go into. And one of the struggle we had over the years is how to focus ourselves and to choose the correct paths we want to go. So over here in the page you are showing some of the interesting use cases of our technology. You're pausing on the automotive. If I can give an example, so for the driver, all the communication with the vehicle can be between yourself and the driver, between the car and the driver. There's no need to attenuate the infotainment system. There's no need to disturb other passengers. And it's more than that, because we act very much like headphones with a very unique implementation of your head, we can also create 3D sound. So the car, I can give you signals that are coming from the, let's say, the direction of the danger event. In a gaming environment, I can give you the actual 3D that the game wants to convey to you. Now, this is another use case because gamers plays hours and hours and hours. They really don't like to use headphones so much, so another solution for us.
Really interesting. Okay, I see that Laly, David is on, depending on here, we'll call you David there, I guess David has joined the call. She's mobile right
Yes.
now.
Indeed.
Yes. I mean, if maybe she's drive with your window open. I don't know, during coronavirus. I don't know. I mean, it's, I don't know if you're alone or not. So in any event, it's good to have you here.
But
Laly,
I apologize for being mobile.
that's okay. That's okay.
Unexpected accident.
That's okay. This is the state of COVID living these days. So Laly is at OurCrowd. She plays a key role in business development at OurCrowd, one of the largest venture platforms in Israel. That is really interesting and unique, and allows people to participate in traditional venture-backed deals without having to be a committed limited partner in a venture fund. Laly, I want to ask you a question that I opened by with asking Yossi, just because I know OurCrowd does work all over the world, and I know you have been in contact, or your OurCrowd has had some contacts over the years with the United Arab Emirates. So how did you receive the news of the agreement between the UAE and Israel? What do you think the significance is for the tech community in Israel? Right.
Well, I think it's for us, I think for many people in Israel, not just in the tech ecosystem, this has been something that has been worked on for many years, and business has been going on between Israel and the Emirates for many years, whether it's with different passports, but obviously this is a huge difference. The fact that you can go with an Israeli passport and you can transact business as an Israeli entity. So of course this is huge for Israel in general and for the tech ecosystem in particular, and for us with our portfolio companies, it opens up a new market, a very significant market, and for us, enabling investors to invest in the Israeli ecosystem. The investors, as you said, are actually from, I think now we can conclude, the globe.
And do you envision, sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Do you envision investors from the UAE, whether they're from sovereign wealth fund vehicles or individual just business leaders and investors from the UAE family offices, whatever the vehicle, do you envision them now investing directly in Israeli venture funds and directly participating in Israeli tech deals?
Yes, we envision them taking direct participation in deals, in funds, for sure, whether it's personal accredited investors, whether it's family offices, and whether it's larger institutional investors. So we expect this to result in a major income of funding to the Israeli ecosystem. I think Israel has been considered the startup nation, of course, by that region as other regions, and now it takes away an obstacle, which has been a very significant obstacle to transact business with the startup nation. So it's very much good news for everyone.
Yossi, let me, the Tomer talked about, when he was talking about his company, that it's especially useful during this COVID period because people are spending so much time with earphones on and staring at screens, and it can wear you down, and that strikes him, at least, and it makes sense, as an opportunity coming out of COVID, during and coming out of COVID, sort of trans coronavirus, during coronavirus, and even post coronavirus. What is your sense just generally in these? You're seeing a lot of tech deals, you're involved with a lot of companies, you have your finger on the pulse of the ecosystem. On the one hand, these few months have been very difficult, I think, for the Israeli tech scene because they're so dependent on sales abroad. But I've spoken to some in the ecosystem that say once we get out of coronavirus, Israel will be very well positioned for what the world will look like post-coronavirus. We'll be well positioned for the changes that are taking place, or may have been accelerated, I guess, because of coronavirus. And that Israel, while in the short term, its tech community may be going through a difficult time. I'd be curious if you think it is going through a difficult time. But on the other side of this, it'll be a very exciting time, a growth-oriented time. What's your sense of this?
Okay, let me try to separate my answers to two. You want to say something, Laly?
Sorry, I thought it was directed to me. I didn't realize it's not. But please go ahead, Yossi.
Okay, I think we have to separate the question, the answer to two parts. Part number one is what's going to be the shape of the world after the coronavirus. If there is after the coronavirus, maybe probably the shape of the world with the coronavirus. And the second, what are the specific opportunities? You know, since 5 months, I have a file which every day I put there more thoughts and more clips and more papers about the shape of the world post-corona. And two things I want to say. Number one, unfortunately, I am very pessimistic in regards to getting out of this crisis. You know, never in the history that we know, probably since the Spanish flu, the world was put on hold. You know, even during World War II, there were countries which were suffering more, countries which suffered less, industries which suffered more, industry which suffered less, and there was always a lever to get the economy out of a recession or depression, either construction projects or steel or whatever. At this time, it was like everybody all around the world, every industry, everybody other than maybe food supply and pharmaceutical got on hold. And you don't get back the economy by turning a switch. It's not an on-off. It's not you send X million people to unemployment and then in one day they go back. First of all, to create job is a very long and tedious work. You can ask Aviv and Tomer, who are running companies, how much they think before they go and hire the next 10 people. I'm not talking about the next 100 people. The next 10 people, it's a commitment, it's responsibility. You have to have the resources. You have to have some kind of a long-term sense of security. And there is a hysteresis. Every time you send people away and you want to get them back, not everybody gets back. You know, the older people don't get their jobs, the weaker part of society don't get jobs. And the thing which really disturbed me the most, that this tragedy threw under the bus the weakest elements of society. The people which can help themselves the least were thrown under the bus. And these are silent people in all the demonstration and all the screaming, we don't see them. These are the cleaning people, the security guy, the lady at the cash register, the information lady at the counter in the enter to a building, the janitors, they are also people. And more important, and this is what we don't see, these are the gardeners, all these people are the gardeners of the next generation of young people. They are raising the young people which can break out of their economic limitation and soar. And this happened in Israel in the former generations many times, and now it's very difficult. Having said that, as you say, in America, there are specific opportunities which the Israelis are already jumping on. First of all, everything which has to do with your home is becoming more important. You know, from Zoom to office equipment, which is suitable for home, to home gardening, for home improvement, etc. Everything online, everything e-commerce, everything self-service, everything self-provisioning it's changed the landscape. After the corona, or with long time of corona, it's going to be a totally different world, different sociology with different communities, and this is creating and will create lot of opportunities. And I'm sure that the Israeli high tech will take good advantage of it. But we have always to remember that the high tech in Israel is only less than 10% of the population, of the working labor. 90% are not part of it. And the question, I don't worry about the high tech. You know, I get every week a question, what should be done in order to help the high tech sector? The question is not what we should do to help the high tech sector. The question is what the high tech sector can do in order to help the rest of the economy. I worry about the rest of the economy, not about the high tech. The Israeli high tech will be good, and if you don't believe me, read a wonderful book called Startup Nation, and you will be convinced. By the way, where can we get copies, Arabic translation copies? We need it for gifts for the Emirates.
You know what? That's a great question. I'm glad you mentioned it. I didn't tee Yossi up for that. So there was a Arab, when we wrote the book, soon after the book came out, there was a bootlegged Arab translation of it. People I think it was in the UAE actually. It was UAE or Bahrain. I can't remember.
No, I don't care if you don't collect your royalties. You know,
yeah. They translated on their own, and then it was moving around social media and in the Arab world, and they were commenting on it. You know, they comment on this section, that section. But I think you're right. Now's the time for an official translation. That's a great point, Yossi. I will credit you for flagging that. Laly, can you tell us what you think of where Israeli high tech scene is today in the thick of coronavirus, and what changes what changes will exist in the world that you think will be an opportunity potentially for Israel's tech ecosystem?
Well, I think there's the essential core of the pandemic situation is an economic crisis. So it's an economic crisis. I agree with Yossi. It really is a tragedy. But when you look at the tech sector and you look at the opportunities in the tech sector, we actually see a lot of acceleration of technology and of innovation. I think this is the time for multinational companies to focus more on innovation. They have to be on the cutting edge of innovation in whichever industry they are. And we, of course, from the portfolio side, we see either new investments that are created because of COVID, new ideas, new concepts, new technologies, or many technologies that are accelerated by COVID, whether it's in fintech. We have a company called Rewire that is much accelerated because of COVID. Everything that is a digital processing, remote care, title care that enables remote care for corona patients, site diagnostic, enabling complete blood count at the point of care. So I think the COVID situation actually accelerates many good technologies, many technologies that are essential for humanity and are just jumping ahead the day-to-day life, enabling this digital transformation across many sectors, across ag tech, health, fintech, and otherwise. Ed tech, of course, educational technologies that needed so much transformation. So now is the time.
Dan, you are on mute.
Still on mute, Dan.
Maybe I can guess the question.
Now you're back.
Can you hear me? That was weird. Aviv, so speaking of how Israeli tech companies are navigating this period post-COVID, so we have up until very recently gone through somewhat of a sports famine here in the United States. We lost up until recently most of our baseball season. Our basketball season got interrupted. Now it's resumed. We'll see what happens. College football is not happening. National football may happen. You obviously are familiar with what's going on in the Premier League and the different leagues around Europe, in soccer or football. how has all this affected your business? I mean, I could think of it in two ways. One is the slowdown in sports, the production of sports content has created less content for you to work with and less demand. Or one could argue because there's so much demand for, and people are starving, as I said, it's a famine, they'll take any little, I was getting all these clips even before the seasons had resumed, reminding me of great plays from past seasons and all the rest. It may have been your technology that was doing that work. So have you found more demand for your product or more challenges during this time?
Okay, good question. So first we're in the sports media industry. So it's normally, historically, in times of crisis, even or in any time, sports is still happening, and the industry is still thriving because people are still even in the in 2008 or in other crises, the sports media rights were still going up, and fans still went to the stadiums. So that was always the trajectory of this industry. And also for us as a company, we're working globally in every continent. So we have customers in Japan, in Australia, in Europe, in the US, in South America. So even if there was, in theory, even if there would be something that would stop a league or a season somewhere, if there's some natural disaster or anything, there would still be business running somewhere else in the world. However, with this pandemic, it's something that you couldn't foresee in any scenario. Suddenly on March 12th, all the sports in the world stopped. Okay, when NBA decided to stop the season, it was like a domino effect, and suddenly in one day there was no more sports, no live sports, and we were faced with a new reality. So what we did first is we tried to be as proactive as we can. We reached out to all of our partners first and started to try and see what we can offer them. One second, and try to see what we can offer them. Sorry, cut my line of thought. So what we can offer them to help them to relieve this hunger for sports, because there's nothing live. So what can they do? So creating new types of content, taking their archive and generating new types of highlights, historical content, split screens, letting the fans vote which dunk is better, which goal is better, and really trying to help them compensate for all the lost sponsorship viewership, the viewership of all their sponsors. So try to help them compensate for all that lack of content, and that actually brought. And then also there's a shrinkage in their budget. So a lot of the people that were doing all this digital work and all the content creators and everything they were freelancers that were suddenly out of. Some of them were made redundant, but they still needed to create content. So they started using our system even more and building their strategy moving forward also more on that. So into the future, we see either, first there's now sport is back. So it's been a great comeback and bump now that since June, July, everything came back. We signed with maybe 11 new customers and leagues like the Korean League, and in South Africa, the Belgian League, ESPN, and some other big partners that signed with us actually in this point in time. But also we're looking forward now as sports is back, but people are not coming to the stadiums. Then what is going to be the strategy to give fans an even greater experience on digital? So we see that as a great opportunity to help create a better experience for the fans. We're still nervous to see how it plays out, because still college, as you said, college football is now being either canceled or pushed to the spring. But we've also started working on what else, if there's nothing live, what other value propositions we can help using archived content. So it's been a really interesting time for us as a company. We've shown our strength and we've shown what we can do in this industry in any case. So I think that's going to end up being even fueling our business.
Tomer, related question. It seems like this is a question, by the way. We're getting questions from those watching virtually here. So I'm just going to start reading off some of the questions. One of them is, Tomer, your Noveto technology seems like it should be in every car. It should be built in like in every Tesla. The questioner asks, is this technology coming to America soon?
So first of all, I hope that people can hear me better now.
We can hear you better now, yeah.
Okay, I do apologize for that. And
No
I saw some of the remarks. Yes, so first of all, we are still shifting from R&D stage into the product stage. We hope, our aim is to launch a device next year. And obviously the automotive is one of the main targets that we're gonna go. Mentioning Tesla, actually we find a lot of synergy with them as being very, very innovative. And we are working with the automotive world, but still it's a slowly moving industry compared to the consumer electronic. So in parallel, we are also developing our own device to the world of the consumer electronic. To mention the use cases, you have some kind of our special bar that you will be able to put on your desk or to take with you to the home, the office, entertainment, whatever you need. And as for your questions about the effect of the corona on us, actually I was still in China in December and managed to do a last round in January in Europe before everything was shut down. And I'm actually traveling a lot with the demo unit. So that pushed us to rethink what we're doing, how we're doing, and to rearrange our strategy. And since January, we've been working very hard to develop a device that is small, portable, that I can ship it to my potential customers instead of coming myself, with a very nice and friendly software so they can install it themselves, use it themselves, and via Zoom or Team or whatever, we'll be able to do the pitch and continue to work. Actually, we are going into another round of funding, and that's going to be the enabler to do that I'm able to do, to send those units to potential customer and potential investors. But also I must say that as always, there are new possibilities and new options are opening. As you mentioned, there's a lot of working from home that is growing. That's a new market for us. And unfortunately, also in the world of health and hospitals, actually, I was approached by a coronavirus department, I forgot the English word. They were looking for a solution, how can corona isolated patient can communicate with their loved ones. And it sounds that our device, being very hygienic because nobody's touching it, there's nothing to throw away, is a very well solution. So there are opportunities here as well.
Laly, a question for you, just because you're seeing a lot of Israelis coming and going. The question from one of our viewers is there a tech drain, a sort of tech brain drain, I guess? The questioner writes, we hear of many people moving to Silicon Valley. Is Israel retaining its biggest innovators?
Yeah, I don't see any. I don't see any brain drain issue here. I see companies that when they grow, they move their sales outside of Israel. Typically, the R&D stays in Israel. Sales and marketing goes outside of Israel. It's a typical growth path for Israeli companies. But we see many people coming back. OurCrowd, I would say we are 80% people who made Aliyah to Israel. So you stop at the airport and then there's an arrow saying, you know, if you want to work, if you made Aliyah, either Ra'anana or OurCrowd in Jerusalem. So, and we always try to lend a hand to people who make Aliyah to Israel and to find jobs within our portfolio companies. I would say that though, that there is a notion that there are no recruitment. It was spoken before about how difficult it is to make a hiring decision. Our companies are hiring. We promote that. We built an engine called Our Talent. So anyone who's looking for a job in the tech industry is welcome to click Our Talent in OurCrowd and see the job portal of all of our portfolio companies, and many of them are hiring, raising funds and hiring.
Unfortunately, if I may interact, I don't agree
Yes.
with Laly.
Go ahead,
really
Yossi.
sorry,
We never do, Yossi.
no, you look at the number or just in New York, you know, you cannot put your head in the sand, you know. In New York, they are now opening maybe 7 or 10 new Israeli startups every month. Only 5 years ago, it was maybe 1 or 2. And you look what's going on in London, and you look what's going on in Germany, we are losing our best people. Luckily, enough is still left in the country, but I think that we should be worried about this trend, including our crowd. You know, you really should be worried about it. And you cannot just say they are going there to do the marketing. There is something deeper into it, and if we are going to ignore it, it's going to just get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I'll just
And
say
it
also,
has
you know,
nothing
we have
to do with immigration. Inbound immigration is one thing, and outgoing is another very, very, very worrying issue.
I agree, it's a very big issue, and I can say that we have 4 licenses from the government of Israel, from the Ministry of Innovation, for Hamamot Madan, for incubators. The incubators as a structure, you know, it makes a big, it requires the companies to keep the R&D in Israel and to keep the IP in Israel. And this is a major effort on our end to support companies that are based here in Israel, an incubator in Israel, and they stay here in Israel. And if they grow and they move their sales operation outside to New York, to Boston, to the Silicon Valley, to London, that's fine. They hire people in those locations. Sometimes a key person from Israel moves, but the company stays an Israeli company. This
Hello?
both are very good trends. And I think the government of Israel is very much supporting this by issuing those licenses for the innovation incubators.
Laly, let me ask you a question. Sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that being an Israeli startup actually gives you a lot of credibility as an innovator, and Dan, I think that's a lot thanks to the book, to your book. It's Startup Nation is a great branding for all of us as a nation, and it's being referenced this way when we go around, and specifically in sports tech, for example, they're always talking about how in our industry, how so much sports tech is coming out of Israel. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Aviv. Let me actually pivot up to another question that relates to that. One of the questions that's been submitted is, has the tech industry felt the effects of BDS, boycott, divestment, and sanction, or is the world at the high tech level not concerned with that? And I guess your companies is a great example because your whole business depends on working with these different sports leagues and sports media assets, some of which, by the way, have become somewhat politicized. Have you, so the fact that you're an Israeli startup, is that an obstacle ever, or I think what you're saying is it's the opposite?
No, it's the opposite. When like if there's a few other startups that are based in different places, I think we even get the benefit of the brand being Israelis in the comparison. Of course, also a great product doesn't do you harm, but I haven't experienced any problem being an Israeli. There's also like some big Qatari sports media broadcasters that are global. That like the fact of us being Israeli, we haven't collaborated with them yet, but the fact that they want to and they never even flinched thinking about us being Israeli, you know, probably needs to be through another entity or something because of everything, but it's not like they don't want to work with Israelis because of it.
And Laly, is that your experience with your portfolio companies? The same, that it's not BDS is not an obstacle?
Not a real one. From a business perspective, if you quantify it, you know, it might be a very difficult thing to grasp, but in real life, in terms of actual business being done, I don't think it's a real obstacle.
And I just want to come back to something you said earlier, Laly. You said that 80% roughly of OurCrowd's employees are people who've made Aliyah. Is that by design? Do you see value in hiring people who've made Aliyah because they are recently connected to the outside world, to different markets around the world, have direct ties and networks? Is that like, do you seek out Olim?
Right. I think, it's a great question. I think it's a combination. It's a combination of chaver mevi chaver, a friend brings his friend, a network. It's a combination of an intention. We became sort of the address for people who are making Aliyah, and it's sort of it's sort of the cycle that is created. And yes, it brings a lot of benefits, whether it's but not only from the US, but from different places. We have from Australia, from South Africa, from Europe, from different places, and it does bring a lot of value for us, for a business, which is a global business.
And we just have a couple minutes left. I'll go to Yossi for this question. The question writes, I hear that Beersheba is now being developed as a center of the tech industry. Is that true? Or is it really all about Tel Aviv? What's your take on what's going on in Beersheba?
Look, no doubt that there was a significant development of tech industries in Beersheba, but you have to be aware that tech like to concentrate in few hubs because of the community nature of tech, because of the pollination, because of the availability of manpower. So like Silicon Valley will always be the mecca of the world high-tech, Tel Aviv at large, between, let's say, Rehovot and Netanya is going to continue to be the major hub. But we see, I think that Gev Yam, which is the real estate development where most of the high-tech in Beersheba is concentrated, employing now like 3,000 people. 3,000 people in US may sound a small number. In Israel, it's quite a meaningful number. Also, like in every other tech hub, the existence of the Ben Gurion University is very, very important. So Tel Aviv will be always 60–70% of the game. Then you will have Jerusalem and Haifa and Rehovot and Beersheba, and you even have Migal in the north of Galilee, which is now one of the two people which develop a vaccination for corona. Talent is distributed all over the place, but it like to concentrate in places where it's convenient, where they can find like-minded people, etc.
And we're going to wrap up here. Just one question that I want to ask of all of you. I'll start with Tomer. What is one technology or app coming out of Israel that everyone should know of and may not know of? And the only caveat to this is you are not allowed to plug your own technology or app. I guess Laly and Yossi can to some degree because they can refer to companies or tech, apps coming out of their portfolio, because to shut them out from the portfolio would shut them out from too much. But Tomer, what is interesting, exciting to you that's coming out of Israel that we may not know about?
This is really an unfair question to ask me.
Why?
Well, I'm not prepared. I'm prepared on myself, obviously.
All right, do you want me to come back to you?
Focusing on this. Yeah.
You want me to come back? Aviv, you got anything?
When?
Okay, I'll say two that are known, but for me, like everybody around the world where I go, they are using Waze, so that's obviously a great for us. As telling them even that it's rarely nobody, and most of them don't.
By the way, Waze, I'm grateful to because it saved my marriage.
Really?
Yeah, my wife and I no longer fight over directions in the car. It's like completely changed the dynamic of our transportation experience. Yes.
Good. So, I mean, proud using it as a reference to the success of an Israeli startup. And another great company that I just had the chance of speaking to this week is Lightrix. It's an app that's using AI to edit videos and images, and they're very successful. And
Lightrix, right?
Lightrix.
Yeah,
yes.
Out of Jerusalem.
Yes, and I can't speak to them too much, but I'll just shout out to Ronnie that I had a chance to speak with this week. So,
all right, excellent. Okay, Yossi.
Well, there are so many things. I would like to suggest a sector rather than a specific company. I think
By all means.
that people should look what's going on in the life sciences in Israel. I have a panel which I call high tech or science fiction, because the thing that people are doing in places like Tel Aviv University and the Technion and Weizmann, it's mind-boggling and it defies gravitation. One example is Taltvir in Tel Aviv University, which developed his 3D printed heart cells, which began autonomously to pulse. This is one example. There is a researcher in the Faculty of Agriculture of the Hebrew U, which take the genes of fleas. Flea is the animal, the creature which jump the highest in terms of number of body size. It jumped to 200 times its body size. You take out the genes and try to develop from them some elasticity material. It grows collagen in tobacco plants. It's really amazing.
All right. Laly. Oh, you there? Did we lose her?
No, I'm
she's
here.
on mute. Oh, okay.
No, I'm here.
All right.
Can you hear me?
What should we know about? What company, what technology, what app? You tell us.
Yeah, I'll follow Yossi. I'll say life sciences, and I highlight a company that Yossi was referring to before in Migal, a company called Migvax that is developing a vaccine for the coronavirus, but basically having a jump start because they developed this for chickens and now moving into human. And I think the approach is unique because it's an oral vaccine, which makes it much more accessible for vaccines. So as the coronavirus changes, the vaccine is easily changed. And I'll just say one more thing is about site diagnostic that does complete blood count at the point of care. And I think it's remarkable. I think other companies in the Silicon Valley try to do that. And the technology coming out of Israel is just superior to others. So site diagnostic is a strong one.
I completely agree with you about site diagnostics. They will likely feature prominently in our next book. We're big fans. We're fascinated by the site diagnostic story. It's an amazing story.
What is your next book about?
Oh, no, you previewed it already.
It's about Yossi.
Yeah, Tomer.
Yeah,
back on you.
Thank you. So after a moment of reflection, first of all, one of the things we're using is vision to identify the ears of the user. This is not done by anyone. And I see there's a lot of growth in the AI mixed with vision to have much more understanding of the facial feature. So I'm following several of those companies here in Israel, and I'm actually very looking to see the progress, because that's going to help us also reduce prices of our product. But I specifically, actually, from the automotive, there's a company I like, which is called Autonomo, which is dealing with big data gathered in the vehicle, which is something that I think we have not seen the end of. I mean, the big data usages and the benefit of analyzing the big data, we're just starting. And for them, I see a very fast growth.
Excellent.
And Dan, what's one that you've come across recently?
Oh, wow. You're really putting me on the spot here. All right. I'm going to tell you what it is, but I have to pull up the exact name. It's in the sports tech space. Hold on. Hold on. Oh no. I
Kepta.
would have said site. Wait, what is it? Wait.
Kepta.
No, Aviv, no. Hold on. I have to go into my WhatsApp. Just bear with me. It's worth the wait. It's worth the wait. I think I can find it. Hold on. It's this sports tech company that is servicing all the soccer leagues right now. That puts this device on your foot and crunches some pretty amazing data for athletes.
Wow.
I can't find the name of it. Here it is. Bear with me. Player Maker. Aviv, do you know the company Player Maker?
Good friends, Guy Arnon, good friend, the CEO.
Yeah. So is that one of the companies you think of when you think about the sports tech boom in Israel?
Definitely. They're already they started with a consumer thing, but they're working now with professionals and have a great consumer product that's booming now, and they're working with they have some strategic partners, and I love their technology. It's really something that we could eventually collaborate on. So
it basically is technology that goes on your shoe, and the data it provides for coaches, for trainers, is like nothing else in the sports world, and it really enables decision making on the side of the field in terms of what to do with certain players in the heat of game. And they're cutting all sorts of deals with soccer leagues, with football leagues, youth soccer leagues across the United States, across Europe, major professional leagues. I mean, they're really very impressive company.
Have you seen the results?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So even for fans, that's going to be incredible. I mean, when you're showing people how fast they're running, how many yards they've run, and all that data. I mean, fans love it, but obviously, yeah, as you mentioned, Dan, coaches and that's going to be massive for them. Metrics. I mean, analytics has taken over sports, so that's actually a fascinating area for expansion.
So Guy Arnon is their CEO, and he's a great guy, and
he's a great guy,
great entrepreneur, and shout out to him.
I love it. You know, I'm a sheep when it comes to technology, but I will say if anybody goes and visits Israel, they should visit the Shimon Peres Peace Center, and they have amazing tech area where you can go see a lot of these amazing new tech ideas coming out of Israel, and it was mind-blowing to me. So anyhow, thank you everybody once again.
We're going to be showcasing there the next round. So in the Paris Institute. So it's going to be CWC's technology there.
It opened last year. So if anybody's once we can actually visit Israel again, I think make sure you got to book it ahead of time. But go on their website. It really is a great thing to watch. But anyhow, thank you guys once again. This was absolutely fascinating. For everybody watching, Creative Community for Peace is a nonprofit entertainment industry organization. We do rely on donations to bring you amazing events like this and to do our work countering the cultural boycott of Israel and working to galvanize support against anti-Semitism. Please visit ccfpeace.com. Once again, ccfpeace.com to make a donation. You can also sign up on our email list and stay connected with us on social media. We have many more fascinating panels coming up. Thank you again to everybody on the panel. Thank you to the Israel Export Institute for helping put us together. Thank you, Dan, for moderating. This was really great, and I'm excited for the future of tech and with the Arab world opening up to Israel, where that goes. So we hope to see everybody soon. Stay connected. Take care.